Okay, let's start with 2x squared minus 4. So in this one we have two terms. And let me just point out before we get started, if you start with two terms, when you end up with your answer has to have two terms inside your parentheses. If you start with three terms, you still have to have three terms. Okay? So, and these are easy to check to make sure you don't get them incorrect. So we have a 2x squared minus a 4. You have a 2 and a 4. What would be the greatest common factor? 2. So we're going to go back and we're going to divide a 2 out of both of those. What about the x squared? Is there an x in the 4? No. So can we touch this for right now? No. So all really we're going to do is divide out the 2. So let's do that. Remember that factoring is opposite of distributing. So your answer will look like this, like you have distributed out that factor. So you would have 2 outside the parentheses. Okay? And then divide out. What would 2x squared divided by 2 be?
1x squared.
1x squared. So we would just do x squared. Negative 4 divided by 2? How about negative 2? Okay. So I started with 2 terms. I ended up with 2 terms inside the parentheses. That's what I was talking about. Okay. Now, can you check this to make sure your answer is right?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. If you were to distribute that 2 back in there, are you going to get what we started with? Yeah. So you can check these. Okay. Questions on that? Okay, we have an 8x cubed minus a 4x squared minus a 16x. You think so? So let's start with the 8, 4, and 16. What will divide into those? 4. Now, let's look at the x again. Has our x now possibly become a greatest common factor?
Yes.
Yes, it has, because the x is in all the terms, right? So if you're going to factor out a variable, you factor out the smallest exponent. So we have 3, we have square, and we have 1. So that's your smallest exponent, so we can take him out. So we're going to divide him out as well. So add him to your 4. So 4x is what we are going to factor out. So he'll be on the outside of the parentheses. Okay? And then we can just go back now and divide. Your 8x cubed divided by your 4x would leave you with what? 2x squared. When we're dividing with the same base, what do we do with the exponents? Subtract. Very good. All right, let's move on. The negative 4x squared divided by the 4x? Yeah, because your power of 2 minus your power of 1. And our last one, the negative 16x divided by the 4x? Minus 4. The x's have canceled out, right? Because if we took a 1 minus a 1, we would have left a, bless you, we would have left a 0, right? So anything to the 0 power is 1. Even variables. Questions on that one? Do you notice something about this one that's not quite right? What else? It's not written in descending order, right? So what do we need to do first? Let's rewrite. Yeah, let's rewrite. Descending order, right? X squared becomes, x squared comes before the x. So let's rewrite. So that would be our, negative 12x squared minus our 14x. Now we have another problem. Your x squared is what? Negative Your x squared is negative. Okay, but it's an easy fix. Okay. When you have your standard form and your a is negative, you don't want it to be negative because it makes it very, very hard to factor. So you just have to fix it. And you're going to fix it by doing what? You're just going to take it out. It's going to be part of your greatest common factor that you divide out. Okay? And then that will take it out of your first term. It'll go back to being positive. So if we look at a 12 and a 14, what can we take out? A 2. And since we want this out as well, we'll just take out a negative 2 with it. We'll just take the negative out with it. What about the x? Yes. The smallest power here is 1, so we'll take that out. So we'll take a negative 2x out of both of them. So that's going to be on the outside. And essentially, when you factor out a negative, it's just going to change your signs. That's really all it does, right? So you can see it. If I have a negative 12 divided by a negative 2, I'm going to get back a positive, right? Positive 6x. And then your negative 14 divided by negative 2, that'll come back as positive, and your x's will cancel on out. So, what did we say, 7? Is that right? Okay. Questions on that one? Okay, so your first one, your leading coefficient was a negative, so you should have gone ahead and taken that out. And did you take out a negative 4? Yes or no?
Yes.
Alrighty. So that would leave you with 8 divided by 4. That left you with a positive 2. Our S stayed in. We couldn't do anything with him. Your 20 divided by negative 4. Negative 5. And your negative 28 divided by negative 4? Plus 7. Okay. All right, you get it? Okay.
Wouldn't it be T, U?
Oh, yes, thank you. Number 5. Just take out a 6 and an N. Yes. Because your smallest power, they all have that N, so we can take them out. So that would leave you with N to the 5th.
Plus
3 into the 3rd. Minus 4. Those N's on that last one canceled out, right? A power of 1 minus a power of 1 is 0. Okay. And our last one, what'd you take out?
negative 5 and a square.
Okay, on this one, your smallest power was a square, right? So we'll take him out. So that left you with positive
M squared.
n squared
Plus M.
minus 1. Again, on your last one. And this will be a pattern, you guys. If you're taking out, if you have that variable, you'll just end up with a number, a constant on that. So that's kind of a pattern, that if you can watch it. Any questions on those? Okay, the ones we're going to look at today are A is just going to be 1, okay? And let's remember, we practiced these a couple weeks ago, right, or a week ago, how we multiplied these. You should have learned in Algebra 1 either to use your FOIL method, your box method, or you just distributed, okay? Technically, the way we go from our standard form back into our 2 binomials is basically reversing that FOIL method, right? So if we start with an x plus 2 times an x plus 5, and we multiply this out, our first 2 terms multiplied give us the first term here of x squared. Remember, we get the middle term. Remember, we get the middle term by taking the outer and the inner. So we get that outer is 5x plus our inner of 2x, and that gives us 5 plus 2 is 7. And then your last 2 terms multiplied together, in this case the 2 times the 5 gives us our last term of 10. Okay? So this is a method that we're going to reverse. We're going to reverse it, right? We're going to start with the standard form, and we're going to put them right back into the 2 binomials. Okay? I'm going to show you a really quick, easy way to do it.
multiply the last two numbers, that gives you the last.
So if you understand this, what you're going to do, your reversal makes it much easier. If you understood FOIL when you first learned multiplying two binomials, the reversal process is much easier. Because we are just literally going to work backwards when we do it. We ready? Can I pull one up? Let's do this one. Okay, let's do this one. X squared plus 10x plus 24. Don't want that on there. X squared plus 10x plus 24. Is it not writing? Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to come over here. You're going to make a big X. You're going to put your C up here, and you're going to put your B down below. Okay, what is our C in this case? 24, so we'll put a 24 up here. And what's your B? 10. Okay, remember how you got your last term, right? You got that last term by multiplication, didn't you? The last in each of the binomials. So you ended up with a positive 24. All right? How did we get that B? Remember you got the B by adding the outer and inner together, right? So you're looking at the factors of 24 that when you added them together, you got a 10. What are the factors of 20?
6 and 4.
6 and 4. So you would put those in here. You have positive 6, positive 4. So if you add a 6 and a 4, you get a 10, right? But if you multiply 6 and 4, you get a 24. So come over here. Those are your binomials. You have x plus 6 times your x plus 4. Okay. So what have we done? We've put this back into multiplication, right? We use our zero product property and we set that equal to 0. Now we can find the factors of, or now we can find the x values that will give us the zeros. Remember that cross the x-axis with our parabola.
There's no 0 in that, the primary one. There's no 0 in it. So how can we put that?
There's no 0 where?
Like x squared plus 10x plus 24 equal to 0. There is nothing like
No, we're going to add it. But that's what we're doing. So you'll have to add it on your worksheet. So either our x plus 6 will equal to 0 or our x plus 4 will equal to 0. Let me take that off. Okay. So if you have x plus 6 equal to 0, what would x have to equal to give you a 0? What? Negative 6. Right? Negative 6 plus 6 would be 0. And what would your x have to be over here?
Negative 4.
-4. Okay? So what did you just find? You just found where that parabola crosses the x-axis, right? It crosses over here at -6 and at -4. Is this thing opening up or down? Up. So he's coming down at that -6, hitting somewhere. Our vertex is down here somewhere and popping back up. And that's what you just found. Okay? So Sarah, that's why we factor, because that's how we're going to find them. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's stop this.